back to another video. Today we're going to be going over 5 different minor league players that I would recommend investing in before the 2021 minor league season begins on May 4th. We're just going to get right into this because we've got a lot to talk through, but as you can see here on our right and left, the first player that we're going to be talking about is Jiren Bour. Now, first off, we're just going to go over a little bit of his bio. 6'2", 212. I do believe he is 6'2", but I do not think he is 212 pounds anymore. He's added a lot of muscle over this offseason. I would guess he's up to around 230-ish. I could be wrong, but if you just look at him last year to this year, he's a big guy. And at 6'2", 212, it's not doing him justice. I think he's probably closer to the 220 to 230 range, which was all muscle that he added during COVID, this offseason. So that's something to look into and remember for him because his power numbers are not there yet. At least they're not there in his stats, but I'm going to be going over why I think he has developed more power over this past offseason than he had throughout his entire career in college and in the pros. Now, he is a 24-year-old, and he is still in the minors, but this is going to be his last season in the minors, as I would expect to call up at latest halfway through the season. But let's just get straight into it. He was a career, an average hitter in college. He hit for 270, 308, and 302, roughly around a 295 average, I'd say. And he was not a home run guy. As you can see, he hit 3 total home runs in roughly 1,000 at-bats. And that's something that really it did change right away in minor league ball. As you can see, he matched that total in, roughly 300 at-bats, which is something that's very nice to see. He started off in low A, hit 2 homers, 20 RBIs, along with 11 walks to 26 strikeouts. An over 2 strikeout to walk ratio is generally not that good, but when you're hitting 350, it's something that you can deal with. Now, I'm just going to close that out. Sometimes I love Baseball Reference and sometimes I don't. But when you're hitting, as I said, 348, it's something you can live with. When your OPS is 940, another thing that you can live with. It means he's hitting a lot of doubles. As you can see, 5 doubles. He hit 10 triples. That's unheard of. That just tells you right there, in 155 at-bats, he hit 10 triples. 1 triple every 15 at-bats. That is something the fastest players in baseball don't do, and that's something that's slowed down over the course of his minor league career, but it's something you can still expect out of him. 348 average, gets a promotion to A-ball, and in almost the exact same amount of at-bats, he improves his average by 19 points, hitting 367. OPS lowered a little bit, roughly 70 points, but he still got another home run in there. He hit only 1 triple this time, but he doubled his doubles, which is something I would expect a lot from him, many doubles throughout his career. Great first year in the minors. He's a guy that was shooting up people's boards because nobody knew about this guy who was drafted in the 7th round, and then out of the bats, he's hitting 350. So let's see if he can match that. Next year, starts off in high A, whole new level. He's never been there before. Instantly, 4 home runs. 4 home runs in 200 at-bats. He has now had 4 home runs when he had 3 home runs in college. Across 3 seasons in college, he just matched that in 200 at-bats. So the power's there. Then he improves his average yet again and hits 20 points higher for 387 this time with just under 1,000 OPS. Phenomenal numbers. Lowered the strikeout to walk ratio. He's now under 2, but that's still a number that's extremely concerning even today. And then he followed up with 13 doubles and 3 triples. Gets that final promotion, Double A, biggest step that MLB players have to face. 11 doubles, 5 triples, 1 home run, and this is what is extremely concerning. He really struggles. 23 walks to 84 strikeouts, only hits 250. Something that is not what you like to see, but something that you can live with when a guy like this has hit so well throughout his season. And I had not bought it this time. He was in Bowman, his prices were high, but this, down here, these last 2 rows as a 23-year-old, are the reasons why I bought Jiren Bour this offseason. He initially starts off in foreign ball, whatever you want to call it, Puerto Rico, I think it was. Yeah, Puerto Rico. He hits 236. Not great, actually really bad. He has 12 walks to 14 strikeouts, though, which is improvement, even though it's at a lower level. But then in the next round, whatever you want to call it, 7 games, 30 at-bats, 1 home run, 1 triple, 1 double, 5 walks to 7 strikeouts, and a .400 average. He won MVP of the league. Now, this is where I thought to myself this offseason, this is a guy that has potential. And that's why I'm going to show us his eBay prices here. We're just going to look at his base Bowmans right here. $63 for his Bowman Chrome PSA 10. $63 for a guy that's been described as Jacoby Ellsbury with plus hitting. Jacoby Ellsbury with more potential, a higher ceiling. You're paying $60 for his first Bowman PSA 10. Too cheap. I would not recommend buying any of his autos at this point. His autos are overpriced in my opinion. I think you're better off buying base cards like you see here. I mean, you can get his refractor PSA 10 for $158, and his PSA 10 auto is $340. I would rather have 2 refractors than a base auto in my opinion. But you can see here he's going for roughly $60 for a base PSA 10. You see his Mega Box PSA 10 orange, $313. I bought my True Orange raw for $375 because I needed one. You're not going to find them on eBay. Now looking back, his prices have dropped a little bit, but I'm extremely happy with my purchase. This guy's going to ball out once he gets called up. I'm estimating, I really hope, and I think he could be up in the next month or two because Hunter Renfroe does not know how to hit for average and will just be a utility guy as needed, but I would not be surprised to see Jiren Bour up before the All-Star break. Our next guy that we're going to be looking at is Gilberto Jimenez. This is Jiren Bour's teammate on the Red Sox. He is another guy that is just a contact hitter, but let's see if we can get any results on Baseball Reference. Let's see if it's going to help us out here, or if it's going to make our time even harder. But while that loads, we're going to look over here. I don't know how Gilberto Jimenez does not have a Baseball Reference, but let's check again. He has everything on Google, so let's see why we cannot find anything. Whatever. Here it is, Gilberto Jimenez. You see here, this is a big difference in age. He is 20 years old, whereas Jiren Bour was 24. So this guy has much more potential, and he's a little bit of a bigger guy. He's also a center fielder, but he's going to get moved over. I don't think he has the speed, in my opinion. But this is a guy that I'm excited for. He did not play extremely well in spring training. Don't let the average fool you and let me think I'm just going off of that. He really struggled. He had stretches in his 13 at-bats. He really didn't look very good, but that's something we can live, with a 20-year-old hitting in spring training. That's something I'm okay with. He's only played 2 seasons of minor league ball because of COVID, and in his 2 seasons, he's hit .320 and .360. Right there, when you see a guy hitting in rookie ball, or even foreign rookie, and you see him hitting .320, and then he skips rookie ball and immediately moves to low A and hits .360, he does even better. That's a guy that I want to buy. So I think that's all we have to see right there, in my opinion. I do not, as you can see here, he did have 16 and 14 stolen bases, which is really good. I just don't think he has the speed that Jiren Bour has, which makes me want to buy Jiren Bour a little bit more because he's ready. He's going to be up sooner, but Gilberto is also a good buy right now. You can see here, I would not buy any of this stuff. I would only buy first. And there's a few that I wanted to show you, but even these right here, his refractor auto is $102. That's a phenomenal buy. Whoever got that, you just got a great deal. If his base is going for 80 and his refractor is only an extra $40, 1.5 times his base, that's a phenomenal buy. Now, Gilberto is going to have to match what he did back in 2019 for his prices to stay this high, as they are a little inflated. But you can see his base out here was even found for 46. He is cheap, 60. 305 for a shimmer. Now, I would not recommend buying shimmers. You always lower that value then, in that like a gold shimmer is equivalent, I would say, roughly to a blue, and a orange shimmer is equivalent to a gold and whatnot. But Gilberto, I would recommend buying his autos. I would not buy his base cards. I don't even think he has a base card. Unless you can find them, like these ones, I wouldn't even buy these. He only has an auto, I'm pretty sure, in his first Bowman, which is why I would stick to something along his refractor, or let's even look if there's any blue waves or blues, because I think that's a better buy, a lower numbered. I think that's a better return on investment. There's more value to be found there. As you can see here, $192 on April 12th. It's April 19th, so a week later, his value hasn't changed. The season hasn't started. He's $190 for a blue. For the Red Sox, a guy that's going to be playing in their outfield regularly once he gets called up in roughly 2 years or so, if he matches this production and gets onto the top 100 prospects list, right away his stuff is going to go up in value. So that's what you're hoping for out of him. Our next guy is going to be Alek Thomas, who I think is our first player on the top 100 list. He is ranked 72nd. He's a 20-year-old from Chicago, 5'11", 175, smaller guy. Notice how all three of our people so far have been outfielders. I think we are going to have that trend continue. As you can see, our other two on the left a little bit are both outfielders as well. Now, right away you see the 60 hit, which is phenomenal. So you can see here 60 hit, 60 run, 60 fielding. Right away that tells you he's a speedster. It tells you that he has range, but it also tells you that he can hit for contact. Now the power isn't there yet at only 45, but that's something that I believe can come. You can see here that they even signed him above slot bonus or above slot, which means that they really like them. A lot of that time, teams will sign a player that they really want to keep and not go to college, and they'll sign them above what their slot would normally pay just to make sure that they can get them. And as you can see, he also made the All-Star Futures game at age 19 only. Now, I do think that he's a lot better than 45 power. And as you can see here in his stats, I think his power will come. For a guy that hit 10 home runs, a 300 average, a 45 power, in my opinion, is extremely low. I think that should be 50 to 55. I think we've seen players like, let's just see, just Wander Franco here, #1 prospect in baseball. He hit 9 home runs and 11 home runs. So he hit 9 home runs and he has a 60 power. Now, in-game power and your swing plays a little bit of a factor into that rating, but Alek Thomas's power at 45 is extremely low in my opinion. But as I said earlier, he hit 300 average with 10 home runs, 23 doubles. Normally what I've found is however many doubles that they hit in the minors, take roughly half of that, and that's how many the players tend to hit in the same amount of at-bats in the MLB. So you can, just because of the juiced balls and whatnot, it could be a little higher, it could be a little lower depending on how they see the ball in the pros. But this is a guy that has 52 walks, which is something that you love to see. However, he had 105 strikeouts. So again, like Jiren Bour, same issues, 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, but that's something I can live with a 300 average and 10 home runs. His prices are extremely low, and this is because he's on the Diamondbacks. $118, $127 for both PSA 10 autos, $85 for two. I think that's 2 10s, a 9.5 and a 9. That's something that could be PSA 10 worthy, and you're saving an extra $30 to $40. Alek Thomas is extremely cheap for his autos. He's a guy that you can find for cheap. I would not even worry about buying base cards when his auto is going for the exact same amount. That just, to me, for an extra $20, this one they found for $10.50. It's a good deal. But he's going for roughly $35 for a base auto. That's a guy that I would take the risk on and say, let's hope he plays extremely well in the minor leagues and people have to start buying him. You saw this with Fernando Tatis. You're going to see it with Julio Rodriguez later on. When players start playing well and there's a good farm system around them, the Diamondbacks have a few good prospects in their system. Slowly, the team starts to increase in value and those players start to go up. Alek Thomas, if he hits like this again, let's see what he made it up to. He made it up to high A. If he hits, let's just say, 280 with 20 home runs, let's just say he totally worked out in the offseason, stayed in shape, added muscle. This is a guy whose cards could double over this minor league season. If he stays an all-star again, this is something that I could see increase exponentially. And our next player is going to be another Alexander Canario, who unfortunately is not a MLB top 100 prospects. And I don't physically understand that at all. I think he is way higher than that. And I think he's a guy that should be higher than that. Let's see if I can get Alexander Canario. It's not going to come up because I'm on Baseball Reference and I have to look him into Google. Nope, we got lucky. All right, here we go. 20 days, going to be 21 in a few weeks. This is a guy, though, that is 6'1", 165. I don't know if that's changed. I don't know if he's gotten bigger or stronger over the past year or so. But what I do know is this guy can hit the ball. This guy played in rookie ball this past season, and he started off in rookie ball and hit .395 with 7 home runs. Called up almost immediately to low A, where he followed up with a .301 average in 9 home runs and only 220 at-bats, which is something that I love to see. He's been a consistent hitter. He had a little bit of struggle in his first time over in the United States in rookie ball, where he hit .250 with only 6 home runs. But his strikeout-to-walk ratio isn't that bad. You can see he really struggled with it in low A, but across his other seasons, he's been pretty consistent at roughly 1.5 strikeouts to walks, which is not bad at all. He's got a high OPS, 850, 760, and then he hit 1,000 this past minor league season in 2019. That was a little inflated because of his 46 at-bats in rookie ball again. But that's another thing that's encouraging. A guy that can go from 250 average to next year hitting .395 just shows Canario's improvement. He's a guy that is extremely cheap, $95 for a base auto. Now he's on the Giants, which is a little bit of a factor, but $40 for a base auto is outrageous for a player of his caliber. This is a guy to watch out for. As I said, I think his prices will go up exponentially. The Giants have Luciano, they have Elliot Ramos, they have Luis Matos, they have Canario, 4 positional players, and Joey Bart that are going to be a force to be reckoned with in the upcoming years for the San Francisco Giants. Canario is another guy whose auto I would buy while it's cheap. $55 for a refractor is extremely low. And I would even look at some of his color autos. 146 for a choice to 150, 9.5. That's extremely low for a player of his caliber. Now, our final player is going to be the 5th player in the MLB Top 100 list, and that is Julio Rodriguez. Julio Rodriguez is a guy that I'm expecting to be up at the beginning of next season. He's a guy that can't be in the minors for too long. You can't waste these kinds of talents sitting in the minors because you want to save money. He's a guy that it's 6'3", 180. Still, I think that's a little low. I think 6'3" is a little right, but I think he's no way he's 180 pounds anymore. He's got to be 200. He is just a huge guy. He is extremely large. He's put on muscle mass, and he can play, as you saw here, he can play both center and right. He's a guy that is going to be able to be moved around the outfield. His arm is okay. As you can see, a 60 arm, which is pretty good. I mean, it's maybe not center field caliber, but he's a guy that is going to be able to be played around the outfield, and he will be able to fit in with Kelenic, and he'll be able to fit in with any other guys that they have that need to be played there or move there. Trammell, those are 2 guys that are fast and that they can be moved around in the outfield. 50 run is a little slow. He doesn't have plus speed, but he still will get to where he needs to go, and he'll get there fast. But what we love about him is his 60 hit and his 65 power. Those are numbers that are on the top prospects in baseball, and he is one. He is a guy, though, as you can see here, he hit .315 in his first season in rookie ball with 5 home runs. Next year, he started off in A ball and hit .293 with 10 home runs. Gets called up to high A and no longer hits for that power as much, but he's still there. You know, he's a little bit lower. He just didn't have the at-bats, but he hits .462 with 2 home runs in high A. This is unheard of. This is a guy that's put on even more power. His 6 doubles and only 60 at-bats is phenomenal. And then if you look here, he had 20 doubles and 263. Not as good. I would expect him to continue on that track, if not have more home runs and maybe a little bit less doubles this year, just because his power numbers have gone up. But if you look at the top 5 prospects, and mainly the 4 in front of him, Wander Franco will be called up this year. Kelenic will be called up this year. Adley will be called up later this year, and Torkelson is a guy that's never played professional baseball before. So, as you can see, there are no stats available. If he comes out and hits not as well as he's projected to, Julio Rodriguez will be the #1 prospect in baseball, which will immediately increase the price of his cards. But you're going to have to pay a premium here for his autos, which is why I recommend buying his base cards. As you can see, $150 for a base PSA 10 is a phenomenal value for a guy that's going to be the #1 prospect in baseball at the end of the season. I don't care how he plays this year, he's going to be there. Even if he slumps, he dealt with injuries in years past and still hit for that extremely high average and power. He'll be fine this year facing tougher competition. But I would recommend you buy these base PSA 10s for $130, $150. You saw here $140, $152. Those are all good buys for a guy whose prices I guarantee will double by the end of the season. He is my #1 guy to buy. You have, and this is another thing that I want to pull up, Fernando Tatis Jr. single-handedly made the Mariners, or he made the Padres sell. He made Padres players sell. And this is something that I would love to see Julio Rodriguez do. You mix him with Jared Kelenic. You mix him with Taylor Trammell. You mix him with Shed Long even. I don't know why it's showing the Marlins. I wanted the Mariners. But as you can see here, we'll move a little bit to the Seattle Mariners. You have Jared Kelenic, an outfielder. Julio Rodriguez, an outfielder. Taylor Trammell, an outfielder. Right away, you're done. Your outfield of the future is there for the next 10 years. Don't care. Trammell's not going to hit for average. He's most likely going to play center solely because of his speed. I could see these two being your corner outfielders. Emerson Hancock, Logan Gilbert, and George Kirby right there in your rotation. 1, 2, 3 in your rotation. You get 2 more veterans to fill it out. There's your rotation for the next 10 years. Noelvi Marte, a phenomenal shortstop, another guy that I think is a good buy. I just haven't bought him yet because of how expensive he is already. I would wait because I don't see him getting called up anytime soon. As you can see, 2023, you're going to wait 2 to 3 years. But he is a guy that hits for average, and he is a guy that's going to be their center fielder of the future. 309 with 9 home runs in rookie. Phenomenal for a guy of his 6'1", his size and his length. But this is a team that I would watch out for. This is a team that I would be buying Kelenic, I would be buying Rodriguez, but mainly Rodriguez. I wouldn't really buy too much of Kelenic. I think his prices are extremely high. But Rodriguez, Marte, even Trammell you could get for the low right now because his prices are down so low. These are players that I would be buying because of how good this team is going to be in 5 years. In my opinion, it's always going to be the Dodgers and Yankees. They're always going to have the money to sign people. But I think the Padres and I think the Mariners are going to be the 2 teams to beat when we're looking back on this in 10 years and 7 to 10 years. I think these are going to be the 2 teams, and I think Julio Rodriguez is going to be one of the best players in baseball. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Have you been buying any of these players already? Are you going to be buying them and investing in them for season-long flips or maybe a 1 to 2 year flip? Let me know what you think. Is there anyone that you would change or add on here or something you don't disagree with? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see what you think, and I'll respond to you. I respond to every comment, and I will be back, I think, tomorrow or the day after with a Zion Williamson buy, sell, whatever you should do with Zion, any fears that you should have, just like my job video, which you should make sure to watch. I'll put it as the first link in the description, but stay tuned for that. I would love it if you guys could leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me know what kind of videos that you guys like, but be tuned, stay subscribed to the channel, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.